I want you to imagine something for a second, like really put yourself in these shoes. Imagine stepping into the role of a senior user acquisition manager, a UA manager for a major mobile app.
Oh man, that's quite the hot seat to be in.
Right, so you sit down at your desk, you open up your dashboard, and you just watch the numbers tick by. And with every single tick, thousands of dollars of your company's budget are just flying out the door.
It's intense. It is a level of daily spend that would make, most traditional marketers physically sweat.
Totally.
I mean, you're managing the equivalent of a small nation's GDP over the course of a year, and the pressure to show a return on every single dollar is just relentless.
And that tension is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are focusing strictly on an insider piece today, an article straight from the trenches. It's titled UA Insider Number 2, User Acquisition, the dope tin patron.
Which roughly translates to user acquisition, a money-burning profession, really.
Exactly. And our mission today is to settle a massive debate in the tech world based on this source. Like, is UA just about blindly throwing budget at ad networks, or is it the strategic, mathematical heart of mobile growth?
And as two people who have spent, a considerable amount of time navigating the realities of this industry, I think we can both attest that the perception from the outside is just wildly disconnected from the mechanical reality of the job.
Oh, the disconnect is huge, even from other departments within the same company.
Yeah.
It's this world where you're constantly walking a tightrope between scaling a business and, well, bankrupting it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The source immediately addresses this running industry joke that UA professionals just burn money badly.
Right.
Like every day, every hour, on every single campaign.
Yeah, and when you look at the raw ad budgets being funneled into networks like Facebook, Google, TikTok, Unity, it's easy to see why.
Right. An engineer or a finance director might look at a $50,000 daily spend and think, wow, the UA team is literally just setting cash on fire.
And that reaction is completely natural if you only look at the expense side of the ledger. But looking solely at the spend fundamentally misunderstands the mechanics of user growth.
How so?
Well, it's akin to looking at a manufacturing plant's steel order and concluding they just, enjoy hoarding heavy metal.
Right, without realizing that steel is the raw material required to build the cars that actually generate the revenue.
Exactly. In this industry, traffic is the raw material of a mobile app.
Okay, let me push back on this a bit, or at least play devil's advocate regarding how we acquire that raw material. Let's talk about the fundamental metric that almost everyone associates with this job, the install.
Cost per install.
CPI.
Yeah, CPI. Isn't getting a user to download an app for dirt cheap, say like 20 cents and install the ultimate win?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. It's like getting a massive crowd into a nightclub for pennies. You stand outside, hand out cheap flyers, and boom, the club is packed. I mean, isn't that the whole point? I'm going to stop you right there on the nightclub analogy, because while it sounds great, the mechanics of an app are very, very different. Let's follow your scenario. You packed the nightclub for 20 cents a head.
Sounds like a win.
But what if that crowd walks in, takes one look at the dance floor, doesn't buy a single drink, doesn't talk to anyone, and walks right out the back door 5 seconds later? In the physical world, maybe you just have an empty room. But in the app world, the bouncer at the door is actually charging you for that empty space.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. Because an app install isn't just a passive event.
Yeah.
There are, like, hidden costs attached to every single person who walks through that digital door.
Precisely. The source data systematically dismantles the assumption that a cheap install is inherently good. A 20-cent install isn't just useless if the user doesn't take subsequent actions. It actually actively damages the company's bottom line.
Because of the infrastructure strain. You spent the 20 cents on the ad network, but the moment they click download, you are also paying for server pinging to process their data.
Yeah.
You're paying database storage costs. You're paying the attribution platforms to track them.
And if that 20-cent user doesn't open the app a second time, if they don't register an account, if they don't deposit money, watch in-app ads, or return within 7 days, the app is simply losing money on every single front.
Wow.
You aren't building a user base, you are funding a revolving door.
It's the illusion of growth. Like, the dashboard shows this beautiful green line going, oh, look at all these thousands of installs. But the bank account is quietly draining.
The core mechanism here is that UA is not in the business of generating downloads. It is the business of opening a pipeline of active users whose acquisition cost is definitively justified by their retention and their downstream revenue.
Right.
If you aren't tracking post-install events, you are flying completely blind.
Which means if cheap installs are actually a trap, we need to completely shift the goalposts. Like, if CPI isn't the holy grail metric, what is?
And that leads us directly into the ultimate battle of the UA world.
Right. CPI versus ROAS. Cost per install versus return on ad spend.
This is where the mathematics of the job become very real and very unforgiving.
Let's lay out the specific case study from the source because it illustrates this mathematical reality perfectly for you listening. We are looking at two hypothetical products, App A and App B.
Okay, let's hear the breakdown.
So App A has a highly optimized monetization strategy. Let's say it's a mid-core strategy game.
Yeah.
They know that, on average, they earn $2 for every user they acquire.
Okay, solid LTV.
Yeah. So for them, paying a seemingly high CPI of $1.50 is a fantastic deal. In the words of the source, it's nendon. It's delicious, it's highly profitable. They spend $1.50, they make $2.
What's fascinating here is that leaves a 50-cent margin of pure profit on every single user. If you find a channel yielding those numbers, you scale the budget on that campaign until the market taps out.
Exactly. Now let's look at App B. Maybe it's a hyper-casual puzzle game. App B only earns 30 cents per user over their lifetime.
Much lower.
Right. For them, getting that dirt sheet CPI of 20 cents, the one we were just celebrating a minute ago with the nightclub analogy, is actually a disaster.
A complete disaster.
And let's look at the math, because on the surface, spending 20 cents to make 30 cents sounds like a 10-cent profit. But the app ecosystem doesn't work that way.
It certainly doesn't. That 10-cent margin is an absolute mirage. Let's break down why. First, Apple or Google takes a 30% cut of any in-app purchases.
Oh, right. The store tax.
Exactly. So if that 30 cents is coming from purchases, you are immediately down to 21 cents. You spent 20 cents to acquire the user. You now have one single penny left to cover your server costs, your developer salaries, and the company's overhead.
Wow. And that assumes every single user hits that 30-cent average perfectly, which we know doesn't happen.
Never happen.
Right. A handful of users make a few dollars, and a massive chunk of them generate absolute zero. So if you're paying 20 cents a head for users who bounce on day one, that campaign is bleeding you dry.
Which is why the source explicitly compares these two scenarios to prove a point. The $1.50 CPI is a massive win for App A, while the dirt cheap 20-cent CPI is a catastrophic loss for App B.
Because UA is clearly not about cost minimization.
No, you aren't hunting for the cheapest user on the internet. You are hunting for the widest profitable margin.
I want to dig into how UA managers actually track that margin, because the source emphasizes ROAS, return on ad spend.
On a fundamental level, it's a simple formula, right? If you spend $500 on a TikTok campaign and the users from that specific campaign eventually generate $1,000 in revenue, your ROAS is 200%. You doubled your money.
It's simple in theory, but the complexity lies in the timeline. If we connect this to the operational reality of a mobile publisher, successful UA teams don't just look at a generic lifetime break-even point.
Right, they can't afford to.
No, they track ROAS at very strict, predefined intervals. We were talking about day 3 ROAS, day 7 ROAS, day 30, and day 45. I imagine tracking at day 3 or day 7 is purely a cash flow survival tactic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't afford to wait a whole year to find out if a campaign you launched today is a dud.
Exactly. By the time you realize you aren't making your money back, the company is out of business.
Yeah.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. It's about predictive modeling based on cohort data.
And just to clarify the mechanism for you listening, a cohort is simply a group of users who all installed the app on the exact same day from the exact same campaign. It's like tracking the graduating class of a specific Tuesday.
Right. And you track that specific Tuesday class over time. The UA manager will look at historical data and know, for example, that if a cohort reaches a 15% ROAS by day 3 and a 30% ROAS by day 7, the mathematical curve dictates they will hit 100% the break-even point by day 30.
So the day 7 metric is basically an early warning radar.
It is. If you launch a new campaign, check the data on day 7, and the ROAS is only sitting at 12% instead of the required 30%, you don't wait until day 30 to see if it magically improves.
Because you already know the curve is broken.
Exactly. You kill the campaign immediately and stop the financial bleeding.
That fundamentally shifts the entire mindset of the job. You stop asking your team, what is a reasonable CPI? Because the CPI is irrelevant in a vacuum. The only question that matters is, how much money does this user bring in, and what is the return timeline on this specific segment?
And that realization brings us to the most critical part of the source material. If a UA manager is on the hook for day 30 revenue, if their job depends on making sure a user is still active and spending money a full month after they download the app, they cannot simply sit in a dark room buying media all day.
They would fail instantly. You can't control day 30 retention just by tweaking Facebook ad targeting. You actually have to care about what happens inside the app.
Precisely.
And this is where the source completely shatters the siloed media buyer myth. UA has to act as a crucial bridge connecting marketing, product, and tech.
It really is the central nervous system of app growth. The source gives some great examples of how this cross-functional collaboration actually works in practice, starting with the product team.
Let's walk through a hypothetical scenario of how that negotiation with product actually happens. Say the UA team launches a campaign. The ads are beautiful, the CPI is incredibly low, and thousands of users are pouring in.
Sounds great so far.
But the UA data reveals that 80% of those paid users are abandoning the app within the first 60 seconds.
A catastrophic drop-off.
Right. Now, a siloed marketer might just shrug and say, well, I got you the installs for cheap, my job is done. But a true UA manager has to take that cohort data, walk over to the product manager, and have a very difficult conversation.
Yeah, they have to point out that the onboarding tutorial is fundamentally broken. Maybe step 1, forcing the user to create an account before they even see the app's interface, is causing massive friction.
And this is where the dynamic gets fascinating. A product designer might look at organic users, people who search for the app intentionally, and say, well, organic users complete the tutorial just fine.
But the UA manager has to explain the psychology of a paid user. A user who clicked an ad on TikTok while waiting for the bus has incredibly low intent. They have zero patience.
Not at all.
If the tutorial isn't buttery smooth, they are gone. The UA data isolates those friction points in the UX that organic traffic might just mask.
The data becomes the ultimate negotiating tool. You aren't just giving opinions on design, you are proving that a specific UI hurdle is costing the company $10,000 a week in wasted ad spend.
The other piece of that puzzle is the tech collaboration, which is arguably the most complex mechanism a UA manager deals with. The source highlights the necessity of working closely with developers to implement MMPs.
Mobile measurement partners. Let's break down the how of an MMP, because it sounds like jargon, but it's the bedrock of the entire industry.
It really is.
I'm guessing that if you run ads on Facebook, Google, and Apple Search, every single one of those ad networks is going to try and take credit for an install if they can.
Yeah.
They all want to grade their own homework.
They absolutely do. If a user sees a Google ad on Monday, but clicks a Facebook ad on Wednesday and installs the app, both Google and Facebook will claim they drove the install.
And they will both charge you for it.
Yep. Total attribution nightmare.
Which is why the MMP is introduced as the impartial referee. An MMP is a third-party software, an SDK, or software development kit, that your internal tech team has to hard code directly into the app.
Right.
When a user installs the app, the MMP looks at the device data, looks at the timestamps of all the ad clicks across all the networks, and definitively assigns credit to the last valid click.
So it fires a post-back event that says, no, Facebook, you don't get credit for this one. This install and the $50 sword this user bought on day 3 belongs entirely to the Google campaign. Exactly. But the catch is, the MMP only works if the tech team integrates the SDK flawlessly. If the developer forgets to tag the purchase button with the right MMP event code, the UA manager suddenly can't see which campaigns are driving revenue.
You're instantly flying blind.
Completely. That's why the UA manager and the lead developer need to be in constant communication.
And finally, you have the creative bridge. The source touches on the constant collaboration with the design team, because UA manager doesn't just need one good video ad. They need dozens.
Ad fatigue is very real. If you show the exact same video to the same audience for 3 weeks, the click-through rate plummets and the CPI skyrockets.
But it's not just about refreshing the visuals to get cheaper clicks, right?
Yeah.
It's about testing the psychology of the hook. You might find that an ad showing highly exaggerated, intense gameplay gets a massive amount of incredibly cheap clicks.
Oh, the classic fake-out ad strategy. Yeah, but the UA manager tracks that cohort and realizes that because the ad was slightly misleading, the day 1 retention is 0. Those users open the app, realize it's a calm puzzle game, and delete it immediately.
Right.
So the UA manager has to go back to the creative team and say, the hyper-intense ads are a trap. We need to design creatives that highlight the relaxing nature of the game. The clicks will be more expensive, but the LTV, the lifetime value of those specific users, will be significantly higher.
It's all connected. The creative dictates the expectation, the product dictates the retention, and the tech tracks the reality. Okay, let's unpack this for the listener. So what does this all mean? If a new UA manager is stepping into that hot seat tomorrow, how do we distill this deep dive into a day one survival guide?
Let's do it.
Let's pull 3 actionable mandates directly from today's analysis.
I think the first order of business is executing the fundamental mindset shift we discussed. Mandate number 1. Stop chasing the install. Abandon the vanity metric.
Avoid the 20-cent trap.
Yes. A cheap install is a liability, not an asset, without a rigorous post-install strategy. The moment a new UA manager sits down, they need to ensure the team is tracking what happens after the download. Are users completing the tutorial? Are they viewing in-app ads? Are they returning on day 7?
Right.
If you are optimizing campaigns based purely on who gets you the cheapest initial click, you aren't doing user acquisition, you are just subsidizing a revolving door.
The second piece of the puzzle builds right on top of that. Mandate number 2. Shift your operational compass entirely to ROAS and cohort LTV. Remember the App A versus App B math. You cannot operate in a vacuum.
You really can.
You have to sit down with finance and define your exact break-even ROAS. You need to map out those D3, D7, and D30 predictive curves. You have to deeply understand the mathematical balance between the acquisition cost and the actual verified value that a specific segment of users brings to the ecosystem over time.
And the final mandate is about organizational structure. Mandate number 3, transform UA into a cross-functional bridge. Tear down the media buying silo.
Get out of the dashboard and go talk to people.
Precisely. UA cannot operate as a standalone island. Growth teams must integrate UA insights directly into product and tech decisions. You have to use your campaign drop-off data to forcefully advocate for fixes in broken onboarding flows.
Yeah.
You have to sit with the developers to audit the MMP event tracking so your data is actually clean. UA manager should be the most frequent collaborator the product manager and the lead developer have.
It totally reframes the job description. So to wrap this deep dive up, user acquisition, when examined closely, is clearly not a money-burning dark art. It's not indiscriminately handing out flyers to an empty room.
Not at all.
When done with mathematical rigor, it is the very heartbeat of a mobile app. It's the highly calibrated engine that keeps the product alive and growing by bringing the right user with the right expectations at a cost-effective margin.
It is arguably the most strategic, high-stakes growth lever a tech company possesses. But it requires an incredible amount of data discipline and cross-departmental trust, which actually leaves me with a lingering thought regarding that dynamic.
Lay it on us.
If UA is the ultimate diagnostic tool, if it's the mechanism that exposes exactly where an app's user experience is broken because low-intent paid traffic will instantly bounce at the slightest point of friction,
Right.
what happens to a product team's understanding of their own app when the UA budget gets shut off? Do they go completely blind to their own UX flaws without that aggressive QA traffic?
Oh, wow. That is a massive blind spot.
Yeah.
It implies that paying for traffic isn't just paying for users, it's actually paying for aggressive product QA. Without that constant influx of new, impatient traffic stress testing the mechanics, a product team might not realize the core loop is broken until the loyal organic regulars slowly start fading away.
A very expensive silence.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking the hard questions about where your app's data is really coming from. Don't fall for the cheap vanity metrics, and we'll catch you next time.